Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm gamesplaining A Feast for Odin.
I will split this video into two parts. The reason is that the major part of the game is on this board and it is fairly in-depth. So I will just hold on to all that explanation for the second video. So if you already kind of have an idea of how to play the game, you just want an update on that board, jump to the second video. Otherwise, please stick with me. In Feast for Odin, you are playing 12 rounds according to this board, 1 through 12. Most of these rounds are really fast and so will not feel like they're really taking much time at all. Round 5 is most of the game, and that's what will be described on the next video. So this is set up as a 2-player game. If it was set up as a 4-player game, we would also add this to the bottom of the board. And that basically gives you the ability to have a go at 2 of the lines of the game that have already been taken by other players. You cannot use one of these actions, which is imitate another player's action, notice another player's. So you can't put your own guy there and then use that space to do that again because it's your own guy. If, however, someone else is there, then of course you can definitely use that to do that one. This guy can't do any of these because they haven't been used yet, so he just goes straight onto them. So let's run through how this game works. The very first thing that happens is we gain an extra Viking into our area. So one comes straight down, one comes straight down. That's going to happen in every round, and there are 7 rounds, 1 for each of the Vikings that comes down. The second thing that happens is a harvest. So on the first and second rounds, we'll have a harvest. On the third round, we won't. Fourth, we will. Fifth, we won't. Sixth, we will. Seventh, we won't. Now you'll also notice that there's number 1 and 2, number 1 to 3, number 1 to 4. What that's talking about is the level of each of the goods. So on the first harvest, you'll take 1 of each of these goods to be used because each of them have a number 1 on them. On the second harvest, you'll also take the number 2 goods. On the third harvest, you'll also get another 3 good. So you can see how they gradually build up. Make sure when you're adding them to your stockpile that you put them down the right side because they are double-sided and the other side is the next colour up. The next thing is turning the exploration boards and placing silver. What that's talking about is these boards up here. Now, that doesn't happen in the first 2 rounds, but on the third round, we'll turn over the A board, which is marked as A there. That one turns over. When that one turns over, each of the other boards will gain 2 money. Now, whenever anyone takes one of these boards, they'll get any of the money that's on that board as well. On the next round, when the B one turns over, that money goes back to the bank. And then each of the other boards that didn't get turned over will once again get the 2 money. Notice now that these 2 boards that haven't been turned yet have 4 money on them. That board that just got turned is free or has no money. And this board has now 2 money because it has already been turned over. When this one gets turned over, they'll get 2, they'll have another 2, so that'll be 4, that'll be up 6, etc. All the way down until all of them have been turned over, which is the second last round of the game. The next thing that happens is each person draws a new weapon. What that looks like is grabbing one of these cards, flipping over and place it on top of what you've already got. You'll notice that you're starting the game with the 3 different weapons. There's a 4th weapon, which is the sword, which would start a new pile. Then we move on to the bulk of the game. Now, the way this works is in player order, so the player that has the moose is first player. You will place any number of Vikings from this area up onto this board, and you will do what the action tells you and go on to the next video to see what each of those actions are. So I'm not really going to do the actions, but I will show you the placements. You'll notice that there are 4 different columns on this board. The first column uses 1 Viking, the second column 2, third 3, and fourth 4. Now, if you place guys in the third column, what you're also doing is you're gaining 1 card from the top of that pile. That goes into your hand with the other card. What these cards are is occupation cards. At the moment, they're worth absolutely nothing. You need to play them out of your hand. And that's actually one of the actions on the board. Or, if you look at the 4th row, you'll notice there's play a card from your hand. So you'll play a card from your hand, and you'll do whatever it says. Each of the cards is different, so I won't go into it. But once that card's been played, for example, that one is played face up, that then gives you extra points if there are points on the card at the end of the game. And it basically works this way. So say, I don't know, that player does that, do the thing. This player might do that and do the thing. This player only has 2 guys, so he might do that one. This guy's then left with heaps of guys. He could go in here and he'll get an extra card for doing that. He could go there, I don't know, he could go there. It doesn't really matter. Now, the fact that this player was the last player to play as Vikings means, as we turn to number 6, that he will get the moose to show that he's the start player next turn. Then we move to income. The way income works is, at the moment, each player is getting 0 income. If a player has managed to cover a space like that, he will now get 1 income. Because green has gone on here, it can either be green or blue, but you can't put 2 green next to each other. It could go diagonal, but not next to. The problem is this is not a legal placement. The way that placement works is you're allowed to place your tiles anywhere on this board at any time. This is a free action. The one exception is that you can't cover up these money markers unless the lower money marker is also covered. So in order to put that anywhere, I could put it there, I could put it over here. Noticing that these are negative spots, so that's negative points for anything that's not covered up at the end of the game. If, however, I had a blue marker, it would be legal for me to put that there. It would not be legal for me to put it here because I need to cover that spot up. So everything to the left and below of the money marker. It is not legal for me to put green next to green. It is legal to put blue next to blue. That would not be legal because these 2 are open. You'll notice that there are some spots that have pictures of resources or goods in them. We're going to get to them in a second, but in essence, let's just fill this in like this for the moment. So on the income phase, this player would get 2 money. If the player also has one of the islands, you'll notice there is income on that. You get the bottom left corner. So once again, same covering rules. If that's covered, then he'd be getting another 2 money for this one as well. So that's 4 money total. The other thing that is able to go onto these boards is either or money. You can place things onto that board at any point during the game, but once things are down on that board, they must stay on that board. And the same with the islands. You can place things anytime, but they must stay there. The things that are going to cover up the bits on the board quicker are from this board, and once again you'll get things from that board because of this, but just for the moment he might place that one there. That's not a legal placement yet because this one's open. What he would need to do is place that one in the space underneath. Okay, let's move forward. So that was the income. We now move to animal breeding. Animals can be picked up from that board. Animals look like these: sheep and cows, and they go in those bottom spaces on the board. At the moment, nothing can happen. As soon as you have 2 of any one animal, one of them can become pregnant. This is how animal husbandry works, I guess. So at this point in the game, one of the animals would become pregnant. On the next turn round, when we get to this point, if you have a pregnant animal, that animal gives birth, so it becomes not pregnant anymore, and we add another one into the pen. As long as you have 2 there, one of them can get pregnant. If you have more than 2, still only one of them can get pregnant. So on the next turn, one of these guys can get pregnant, then have birth. So, and that will be ongoing. And you'll notice there's points on the bottom of each of those cards for the end of the game, depending on which sides are up. The next thing we have to deal with is the feast. Now, the way the feast works is we're using all these empty spaces. So as the game goes further on, there's going to be more and more empty spaces that will need to be filled up with food. The way we fill this up is we take either orange or red that we have and place them down here. Now the problem is, what I've just done is not legal because what I've got is orange next to orange. So that one cannot be placed there. However, the red one can be placed there. Or I could place it like that. That placement, however, is not legal because I've got 2 of the same item. So if I wish to use 2 of the same item, I'm going to have to place one of them vertically, which means I still need to fill in one of the spots. The spot can be filled with the money. It cannot be filled with ore, but it can be filled with money. Once that's been done, so the feast happens, all the stuff here gets put back into its appropriate slot, back to the bank if you will, and then we move on to the next one. The next one is the bonus round. So that comes back to these things here, the little pictures. This one would gain a bonus of that 1 red. It would not gain any of the other bonuses. The way to gain the bonuses is to surround them completely. Once they're surrounded completely and visible, then you'll get the bonus in this particular point of the game. Then we move to the mountain strips. You'll notice there are 2 mountain strips. Each of them has all the stuff on them. Things can be taken off because of this board, so I'll get into that later. But what happens right now is for each of the mountain strips that's visible, you take 1 off. If they've still got stuff on them, then they still exist. And we add the next one, putting all the stuff onto the next one as necessary. And then the final thing we do is we gain the guys back off the board, ready to start the next round of the game. There are a few anytime actions. So I've already spoken about one of them, which is placing goods on your home board. You can do that at absolutely any time during the game. The other things you can do at any time during the game is place goods onto these cards if you happen to have these cards. Once again, you'll get those cards from the main board. And you can also buy ships at any time. The cost of each ship is listed above that. So it's 3 money, 5 money, and 8 money. It's also the same as the points, if that's any help to you. And once you purchase those ships, they'll come down into the spots that fit those ships. And I'll get into those guys a little bit more in the next video. The only other thing to be aware of is that you're able to arm these ships. And this is also an anytime action. So if you've got little squares, which is these ones and these ones, you can add an ore to them. Be aware that once you add the ore to them, yes, you'll get the benefits of that, and I'll go into what they're there for in the future video, but you won't be able to get that ore back into your supply. And there's some occupations that are allowed to be played at absolutely any time, and so those can be played at any time, thus the name. Okay, look, I think that's enough of an idea of the game. Go on to watch the next video to get an idea of each of the spots on that board, or go ahead and watch the video after that for a playthrough of the game to get a feel for how it actually plays. I hope this helps you get A Feast for Odin to the table. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you wish to be Gamesplaned, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.